Tammy.
We're here at the Quirky Lotus.
The Lotus.
The Lotus. It is. That was
I don't
weird.
know.
So it is second Saturday. So we have newfangled technology.
Yeah, this is take 2.
So hoping for audio. This one. So we
Talking about shadow.
talking about shadow. That's what we're doing. So we want to jump straight in and talk about shadow, right? We have had some overlap. We have had some constant conversation. We are both dealing in personal aspects about shadow and that kind of it's stuff for us, right? So let's start with what is shadow? Like quick, what is when people say shadow work? What is shadow?
That's the trauma, that's the pain, that's the dark side of life and whatever it is that you're dealing with.
So, short version of just that shadow work is digging into that, facing it, coming up and saying, okay, this is part of my relevant reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it you know, a lot of times it's things from the past that are affecting our now, you know, so childhood trauma, inner critic trauma, you know, those kinds of things that affect how we handle life, how we show up to life,
How we see ourselves.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. How we see ourselves, completely relevant, right? So, when someone talks about doing shadow work, right? Because right now, on the Google, on the Facebook, on the whatever, I think probably TikTok or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm really hip, guys. Can't you tell? So on all of those things, I think shadow work is kind of showing up. So when people talk about doing shadow work, it's a lot about coming face to face with those things and doing what with them. What would you like? I guess whatever you choose, huh?
Mostly I think it's trying to heal. You know, deal with it the best you can, but heal.
Grow, expand, learn from.
Become a better person.
Yeah. Shut your inner critic up, hug your inner child, like all that kind of stuff. So shadow work for me was I love shadow work. Like I think that's a wrong representation. I love it. I don't love it. Like, but I really I enjoy the growth that happens only in the shadows. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like I enjoy that moment when you come out of that fog, when you come out of where you just feel like everything's so heavy. I love that moment when you like emerge from the cave and it's like, ta-da, here I am. You know, I enjoy that to the point of where I have to be careful or I'll stay in the shadows a lot of times. You know, like I'll stay in those non-highest form versions of myself. You know.
So I just saw a butterfly coming out of the cocoon, but you want to stay in that cocoon.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, and it's weird because I mean sometimes that means that I want to stay in the dark, depressive states, right? And sometimes it means that I want to stay in the mean, bitchy, numb states of where I don't get close to anybody, and you know, like so I have it means different things at different times, but it ultimately is that exactly accurate. That staying in that cocoon. Because then if you're the butterfly, people are going to look at you. And then what if you fuck that up? You know, like, I mean, so that's a whole nother layer, right? So, but I enjoy that kind of space. I enjoy helping people heal in that space because I think a lot of times the shadows are a space where we get really scared to face, you know. And, you know, I've had a lot of growth for myself from traumas from dark spaces, you know, and I think it helps me see things in a different space, you know, and so I enjoy that moment of helping make that bridge and that connection for other people, but it is shadow work is exhausting, you know, like I mean, and the first step of it, I don't know, what would you say the first step of it? What do you think?
Even realizing that you have shadow work to do.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, you were talking in our first video about, you know, being triggered. You know, with what I'm dealing with, I never really consciously like shut it away in my head.
Gotcha.
You know, I've never like, oh no, that didn't really happen. You know, I've never been like that. You
Right.
know, shit happened. I felt like I dealt with it the best I could and healed from it, I thought, until I was triggered again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Years, decades later,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
you know, I was triggered, and it was something as easy as a Facebook request from somebody.
That damn Facebook.
You know, I mean, social media puts shit right in our face
It does.
that, you know,
It does.
20 years ago we didn't have to
Yeah.
deal with.
You just
know?
ignore it and
Yeah. So
stuff
I-
it down.
So I think realizing, accepting that, you know, that shit happened in the past still needs to be dealt with, even though we thought we were healed.
Yeah. Well, you may
I'm
have
not.
healed at that moment the best of your ability, but on comes the next layer. You've evolved, you've grown, so then there needs to be deeper healing for that.
Yeah.
More healing. I don't think, my personal opinion is that I don't think we ever get to a space where we're just like, ta-da, and nirvana, you know, like, let me
Right.
rephrase it. I don't think we get to it in the meat suit.
Right,
Like-
where we're done.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think we get to it in the meat suit. I think we're in a constant state of growth or we're stagnant, and I really hate stagnation. So, like, you know, I think that as long as we allow ourselves, we constantly grow. So it makes sense. I think that sometimes things come in a circular fashion, you know. But you're right.
I thought I was done though. I wanted to
get
be
that.
done with that.
I get that.
I really wanted to be done
I
with
get
that.
it. I get it. I really do. So we get it, right? Because I think a lot of people are dealing with shadow work right now. I think tons of people, we're dealing with triggers, right? There's triggers everywhere. There is-
Everywhere.
You know, we have everything ranging from political to just socioeconomically. You have the pandemic stuff. I mean, you just have triggers everywhere that feed off of just insecurities from that inner childhood trauma and that, you know, all those aspects of ourselves that we've stuffed away and just don't want to fucking come to face with. Lots of triggers. So we almost have to get to a space where we do acknowledge that shadow. We acknowledge, you know, the power that it has in the power that those things that we have been accustomed to or have happened are playing in the now. That was a lot of weird words. At the end of the day, it's important to recognize the shadow. I think at first steps, it's almost like a toddler who screams because nobody pays it attention. I think sometimes half our battles are kind of in a better place once we recognize that shadow exists, because then when a request comes or something on social media comes, we get to decide. You know, we get to decide where we give power, where we don't give power. I read an article the other day. I think we'll finish up with this, but I read an article about rewriting the past to affect your now, right? And it's saying that in the times where harm was done to you, or in the times that you did harm, those shadow parts of yourself, those places, rewrite what that looks like in the sense of, okay, that version of me didn't handle that the best way. Now if that moment comes up again, I handle it this way. So you can't change the past, but you can rewrite your version of the now with it, you know? And I think that's really powerful. I think, but we have to acknowledge that first, right? So, in short, shadow work is hard.
It sucks. But don't make you feel alone, because everybody deals with it, and I just feel like that is so important to know.
I agree.
That everybody deals with it, and if you get to the space where you can't talk about it or need to reach out and be like, you know, I've had some shit and I just need somebody to stand there with me.
Hold space. If
Space,
somebody
yes.
is coming to you with the purposes of talking about their shadow spaces, then sometimes your only job is to simply hold space.
Yes.
You know, I'm proud of you for talking about this. How much power and how much bravery does it take?
Yep.
Now, let me just involve you in the little fluffy bunny unicorn bubble that you can't hold for yourself right now, right? Like, let me tell you how powerful your butterfly will be if you just come out of that cocoon. You know, it's almost like a little bribery. Like, come out of it, just come on. You know, and sometimes it's important to find your tribe in that sense. That's where tribe comes in.
Yep.
That's where the people who can love you when you can't see that love around you. That's where that power comes in, and I think that's why we need people.
Yep.
You know, we need legit people who love us and care for us in that space. You know, power.
We
in
are
that.
both getting
Like-
teary-eyed.
Anyway, so shadow work can be very daunting, but it's extremely rewarding if you dig into it. And the version of you that's waiting on the other side of the cocoon, the other side of the cave, the other side of whatever you want to call, there's power in that person, and you have absolute capability of tapping into that.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to tap into that by proxy by using your tribe to get to that space, and that's okay. So, anyway, that's our take on shadow work. Oh, all right. Okay.
Bridget, don't back down. Stand up for what you believe is right.
And that doesn't necessarily always mean that pick up a sword and warrior. Sometimes that simply means that you give yourself permission to remove toxicities. You give yourself permission to remove yourself from places that don't have your highest good, you know, in line. There's power in that. So, all right. Sending you guys so much love. Energies are wonky right now, but they're also beautiful in their own way. Tap into that healing, surrender to it, and allow for your shadow to be heard. So, sending lots of love, and we'll see you guys next week.